Welcome to Rare Breed Brotherhood. Leadership isn't always about wanting to lead. Sometimes it's just about being unable to follow the wrong path. Let's get something clear. Sigma males aren't trying to be leaders. They're not in the race to climb the ladder, impress the board, or dominate a room. They were just born different. They think for themselves, move on instinct, and carry a kind of presence that naturally draws others in, even when they're trying to avoid the spotlight. That's the irony. They lead because people trust them, not because they chase authority. And here's the catch. They actually hate being in charge. Why? Because being in charge usually means playing politics, managing egos, pretending to care about rules that don't make sense, and keeping everyone comfortable at the cost of truth. Sigma males have zero tolerance for that kind of nonsense. They'd rather build alone than manage a mess. If you're a Sigma female listening right now, this applies to you too. You don't fit in because you're not meant to. You think differently. You see the cracks in systems everyone else blindly trusts. And even if people don't always understand you, you carry a kind of power they can't ignore. Here's your reminder. You don't have to be loud to be respected. You don't need a crown to lead, and you don't owe anyone your conformity just to make them comfortable. You were built to move differently, and the world doesn't need more traditional leaders. It needs more people like you. Let's dive in rare breeds. Number 1, he's allergic to drama and politics. In most leadership circles, there's a game behind the game. It's not just about vision, strategy, or results. It's about knowing who to flatter, who to avoid, and how to survive the constant tug-of-war between egos. It's less about leading people and more about navigating landmines with a smile. But the Sigma male? He doesn't have the patience or the stomach for that. He's not wired for clicks, manipulation, or carefully calculated small talk. He doesn't care who's in or who's whispering behind closed doors. If the environment requires him to stroke egos, fake relationships, or play dumb to stay ahead, he's already looking for the exit. Because for him, integrity always outweighs influence. And once drama enters the picture, integrity walks out. Leadership in those circles becomes a chess game played with snakes. And Sigma males don't play with snakes, they walk right past them. He believes in getting things done, not getting entangled in emotional sabotage and backdoor deals. That's why you'll often find him on the edge of the crowd, or completely outside of it. Not because he can't compete in the politics, but because he knows how empty that victory would be. Winning in a corrupt system still leaves you surrounded by corruption. He'd rather build something smaller, but cleaner, quieter, but real. And the moment leadership becomes more about optics and office gossip than purpose and progress, he's done. He's not interested in being the most powerful person in a broken room. He's interested in truth, peace, and results. So while others are busy plotting moves and forming alliances, the Sigma male simply moves forward, unafraid, unbothered, and absolutely unwilling to trade his peace for a seat at a tainted table. Number 2, he sees through the illusion of status. You can call him boss, manager, CEO, or whatever makes the system feel official, but to the Sigma male, none of it means a thing. Titles are just labels, and labels are often used to make people feel important while quietly putting them in cages. He knows the truth. Being in charge is often just a more glorified form of servitude. More responsibilities, more pressure, more people to please, and ironically, less actual freedom. You spend all day managing expectations, smoothing egos, attending meetings, approving nonsense, and pretending the system makes sense when it doesn't. That's not power. That's performance. Sigma males don't chase status because they don't need it to validate their worth. He'd rather be underestimated and free than celebrated and shackled. He doesn't care if his name is on the door. What he cares about is having space to think clearly and act boldly. And most traditional leadership roles don't offer that. They offer optics, appearances, empty prestige. You see, the world is full of people addicted to status, fighting for promotions, clout, and recognition. But the Sigma male? He's watching from the outside, shaking his head. Not because he's bitter, but because he understands how easily status becomes a trap. Once people get a taste of it, they start living for the image instead of the mission. They start protecting their title instead of speaking the truth. The Sigma male avoids all of that by design. He builds quietly, leads naturally, and earns respect without needing a gold nameplate to prove it. Because at the end of the day, it's not the title that matters. It's the impact. And his impact speaks louder than any business card ever could. Number 3, responsibility without autonomy is a trap, and Sigma males spot that trap from a mile away. To most people, being in charge sounds like a win. More power, more influence, more respect. But to a Sigma male, that phrase sets off alarms, because in many cases, it's just a slick way of saying, you're responsible for everything, but you don't actually get to make the real decisions. That's the setup. You're held accountable, but you're boxed in by rules, politics, outdated systems, or higher-ups with final say. You're expected to carry the weight, but not given the freedom to move how you need to. That's not leadership. That's glorified babysitting in a straitjacket. And a Sigma male? He's not playing that game. He'll take responsibility if it comes with real freedom. If he's trusted to move how he sees fit, to build without interference, to lead without 1,000 hands pulling him in different directions, then he'll own it. But the moment it turns into a leash, he's out. Sigma males are wired for independence, not authority wrapped in red tape. They don't thrive when they're managing chaos they didn't create under rules they didn't write. They thrive when they can build, shape, and lead on their own terms. That's why they often walk away from promotions that others would kill for. Because they know the truth. Leadership that robs you of freedom isn't power, it's a cage. And no title is worth their autonomy. They'd rather lead from the outside where the moves are real, the vision is pure, and the control is authentic. Because for a Sigma male, the goal isn't status, it's sovereignty. And if that means rejecting the throne, so be it. He'd rather be free on his own path than trapped in someone else's spotlight. Number 4, he distrusts centralized control, even when he's the one holding it. That's the paradox of the Sigma male. He has the presence, the intelligence, and the strength to take charge, but he doesn't want control. Not over people, not over systems, not even over outcomes he can't respect. Because to him, real power isn't about calling the shots or having people answer to him. Real power is freedom. Freedom to move, think, and create without being chained to anyone else's expectations or responsibilities he didn't ask for. That's why even when he's put in a position of authority, he doesn't tighten his grip, he loosens it. He doesn't hoard decision-making or demand constant input. He's not interested in being anyone's puppet master. In fact, nothing makes him more uncomfortable than people becoming dependent on him, emotionally, financially, or mentally. It's not that he's selfish. It's that he believes in self-reliance, both for himself and others. He sees centralized power, whether in governments, corporations, or even relationships, as dangerous, not because he's paranoid, but because he understands how easily it leads to control, manipulation, and dysfunction. And the moment too much power is concentrated in one place, authenticity disappears. People start performing, truth gets diluted. Decisions become political instead of principled. So instead of building empires where he's the king on the throne, the Sigma male builds ecosystems, spaces where everyone moves freely, takes ownership, and doesn't need permission to lead themselves. And if you try to hand him the reins and ask him to run the whole show, he'll probably hand them back. Because the truth is, he's not addicted to power. He's addicted to clarity, independence, and truth. He doesn't need people under him to feel strong. He needs people beside him who can stand on their own. And that's the kind of leadership that doesn't just resist control, it inspires liberation. Number 5, bureaucracy kills him slowly and painfully. And not in some dramatic way, it's more like a slow suffocation, red tape, endless meetings, office politics, approval chains that go nowhere. For the Sigma male, this isn't just frustrating, it's soul-crushing. He's not wired to wait his turn or play the game just to get a pat on the back. Climbing the corporate ladder, that's someone else's dream, not his. Because he sees it for what it really is. A system built to reward compliance, not creativity. A structure that often promotes the safest choice, not the best one. And for a Sigma male, that's intolerable. He doesn't want to be told when to speak, how to think, or who to impress. He doesn't care about titles, corner offices, or what department he falls under. His mind doesn't operate inside boxes, and bureaucracy is all about boxes. Everything has to be labeled, submitted, reviewed, and signed off. It's slow, it's stiff, and it sucks the life out of innovation. That's why he doesn't climb ladders, he burns them, not out of rebellion, but out of necessity. Because the system wasn't built for someone like him. Someone who values freedom over structure, impact over recognition, and movement over meetings. So instead of wasting years trying to fit in, he creates his own lane. He builds his own platforms, businesses, or creative paths. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. It's his, and it doesn't require him to water himself down just to survive. Sigma males don't reject bureaucracy because they can't handle structure. They reject it because they refuse to let it dilute their power. They choose autonomy over acceptance, substance over status. So while others keep climbing, slowly, politely, he's already 10 steps ahead, walking a path he built himself. No politics, no pretending, just purpose. Number 6. He leads by example, not by enforcement. The Sigma male doesn't waste time yelling at people or trying to force them into place. He's not interested in power plays or puffing up his chest to prove he's in charge. That's not leadership to him. That's control, and there's a big difference. He leads by example, not enforcement. You won't catch him barking orders or micromanaging people. What you will see is someone who's fully locked into his own lane, doing the work, owning his craft, and staying consistent, even when nobody's watching. That's where his influence comes from. See, the Sigma male believes that real leadership doesn't have to shout. It doesn't need a title, a podium, or a crowd of followers. It just needs action, quiet, disciplined, relentless action. He focuses on mastery, not authority. And because of that, people naturally start to watch. They notice how he moves. They notice that while everyone else is talking, he's doing. And here's the beautiful part. He doesn't care if anyone follows him or not. He's not out here trying to convince people. He's not desperate for validation. If you catch on and get inspired, great. If not, that's fine too. He'll keep moving regardless. That's what makes his presence so powerful. He gives people something real to respect, not just words, but results. Not just charisma, but consistency. He builds quietly, sharpens himself daily, and raises the bar without ever needing to call attention to it. People around him start to step up, not because he told them to, but because watching him makes them want to. That's the kind of influence that sticks. That's the kind of leadership that doesn't fade when the spotlight's off. So while others shout for control, the Sigma male walks ahead and lets his example do all the talking. No pressure, no commands, just excellence that makes people want to catch up. Number 7. He hates managing egos. Let's be honest, most leadership roles aren't about vision or strategy. They're about managing egos, keeping fragile personalities from breaking down, hand-holding, tiptoeing around insecurities. And for the Sigma male, that's a hard pass. He didn't sign up to be anyone's emotional babysitter. He's not here to stroke egos, calm temper tantrums, or navigate petty drama just to keep things running. That kind of emotional labor, exhausting, pointless, and completely out of sync with how he operates. The Sigma male values clarity, competence, and calm. If you're in the room, he expects you to act like you belong there. No theatrics, no insecurity-driven power games. Just honesty and performance. Simple. And that's what separates him from the average leader. Most traditional leadership is a constant dance around people's feelings. Managers spend more time massaging egos than actually building something worthwhile. But the Sigma male doesn't have time for that. He respects people who are self-aware, emotionally stable, and direct. Everyone else, he keeps at a distance. This isn't because he's cold or uncaring, it's because he's selective with his energy. He's learned the hard way that pouring himself into other people's emotional messes only leaves him drained and distracted. And for someone who values independence and mental clarity, that's not a price he's willing to pay. He believes grown adults should know how to manage their own emotions. If they don't, that's their problem, not his responsibility. He's not about to lose sleep over someone's insecurity-fueled drama. So while others rise through the ranks by smoothing over feelings and playing office politics, the Sigma male quietly builds empires without babysitting anyone. He's not here to play therapist. He's here to get things done. And if your ego needs constant attention, you won't last 5 minutes around him. Number 8. Leadership is instinctual, not aspirational. That line right there, It perfectly describes the Sigma male. See, a Sigma male doesn't dream about being in charge. He doesn't spend time trying to climb a ladder or impress the right people. He's not obsessed with titles, recognition, or being the boss. That kind of ambition isn't in his DNA. But here's the twist. People still follow him. Not because he asks them to, not because he demands it, but because something about him pulls them in. It's the way he carries himself, calm, focused, unbothered. While others scramble for attention, he moves with quiet confidence. He doesn't speak to dominate the room. He speaks when he has something real to say. And when he does, people listen. Not because they're told to, but because they want to. That's what makes the Sigma male so different. He doesn't chase power, he becomes it. And it's not some performance, it's who he is, deep down. He's not pretending to lead. He's not faking it till he makes it. Leadership is just how he naturally operates, and people notice, not because he's loud, but because he's real. Not because he brags, but because he backs it up. His actions speak louder than anyone else's words. You can't fake that kind of presence. And the crazy part? He doesn't even want followers. If you choose to walk with him, great. If not, he'll keep going either way, because he's not driven by followers, he's driven by purpose. This is the kind of leadership that can't be taught in books or boardrooms. It's born in solitude, sharpened by experience, and powered by authenticity. So when a Sigma male walks into a room, people take notice, not because he's trying to lead, but because he already is. Number 9. His vision doesn't need a boardroom. The Sigma male's vision doesn't need a fancy office, a board of directors, or some big glass building with his name on the door. He doesn't chase that. He doesn't need it. Because here's the truth. His vision starts in silence, not in meetings or strategy calls, but in his own mind, his own space, and often with no one watching. While most people wait for permission, wait for a promotion, wait to be picked, the Sigma male just builds, quietly, relentlessly, on his own terms. He's the kind of man who can sit in his garage with a sketchbook and change the way people think. He can sit at his laptop and start something powerful that spreads like wildfire. He doesn't need a team of executives to approve his ideas. He approves himself. And that's the difference. Sigma males aren't allergic to success. They just redefine what it looks like. Where others see power in corner offices and business cards, he sees power in freedom. Freedom to create without layers of permission. Freedom to fail without a panel watching. Freedom to follow his gut without watering it down for the crowd. And because of that, what he builds is real. It's raw. It's his. He's not chasing likes, clout, or validation. He's chasing impact. Whether it's a blog post, a product, a piece of code, or a single sentence that sticks with someone for life, his work speaks louder than any corporate title ever could. So don't be fooled by where he is. Just because he's not sitting at the top of some organization doesn't mean he isn't already leading in ways most people can't even see. Because when you're a Sigma male, the boardroom is optional, but vision is non-negotiable. Number 10, he despises blind loyalty. Here's the thing about Sigma males. They don't want fake loyalty. They don't want followers who nod just because they're supposed to. That kind of blind obedience, he sees right through it. And honestly, it turns him off. See, most traditional leaders crave loyalty like it's some badge of honor. They build teams, fan clubs, even entire organizations where people follow them out of duty, fear, or routine. But the Sigma male, he has zero interest in that kind of setup. In his world, loyalty has to be real, or it's worthless. He doesn't want people clinging to him because of his status or position. He doesn't want yes-men, people-pleasers, or those who follow just to fit in. If you're in his circle, it should be because you respect him, not because you're expected to. It should be because his values speak to you, not because you're scared to walk away. And here's why this matters. The Sigma male isn't trying to build an army. He's trying to build authenticity. He doesn't want people around him who are sleepwalking through life, blindly following orders. He wants thinkers. He wants people who choose to stand beside him because they believe in what he stands for. Because when things get tough, and they always do, blind loyalty folds. It's the conscious, chosen kind of loyalty that stays grounded when the storm hits. And that's the only kind of loyalty he respects. So don't follow him because he's the loudest, the most confident, or the one in charge. Follow him because something about the way he moves through the world resonates with you. Follow him because his actions match his words. And if you don't, that's fine too. He'd rather walk alone than lead a crowd of people who don't even know why they're following him in the first place. That's real leadership, and he knows it. Number 11. He knows leadership is lonely, and he doesn't fear loneliness. Let's talk about something most people never admit out loud. Leadership is lonely. Everyone wants to be the leader until they realize what it actually costs. It's not just the pressure or the responsibility, it's the silence, the distance, the constant feeling that nobody really gets what you're carrying. Most people chase the spotlight and then feel crushed when the weight of leadership starts to isolate them. But Sigma males? They're different. They don't just tolerate loneliness, they're wired for it. While others feel the need to constantly surround themselves with teams, advisors, cheerleaders, and approval, the Sigma male finds clarity in silence. He processes in solitude. That's where he recharges, thinks clearly, and resets without distractions. Now don't get it twisted. He's not cold or antisocial, he just doesn't need the noise. He's not desperate to be understood or praised. That inner stillness, it's his power source. That's where most of his leadership instincts come from. His decisions aren't shaped by fear of judgment or popularity. They come from deep within, grounded and firm. But here's the raw truth. Just because he thrives in solitude doesn't mean he enjoys carrying other people's burdens. Sigma males are naturally independent, and while they can handle responsibility, they don't like being weighed down by others' constant emotional demands. They're not built to be emotional sponges for entire teams or communities. He can walk alone. He often chooses to, but that doesn't mean he wants to drag everyone's weight with him. That's why traditional leadership roles feel suffocating. Too many expectations, too many needy voices, too many people pulling him in 100 directions, expecting him to have all the answers. Sigma males don't want to be saviors. They want to be free. They'll inspire, guide, and set the example, but on their own terms. Not because they need the title, but because their presence speaks louder than any position ever could. In conclusion, real leaders don't crave the spotlight. They carry the weight, then quietly disappear. The Sigma male doesn't wake up wanting to be in charge. He doesn't dream of titles, control, or people following his every move. What drives him is something deeper: truth, clarity, freedom. He leads because he can't stand fakeness, because he sees things others don't, because silence isn't always an option when you actually care. And when he leads, it's not from a stage. It's from the shadows, from the work, from the way he lives. Most people chase leadership for power. Sigma males avoid it because they know the cost. The drama, the politics, the conformity, the emotional babysitting. It's a circus. They don't hate responsibility. They just hate being turned into something they're not just to fit the mold. That's why their leadership looks different. It's quiet, clean, reluctant, but real. If you're someone who feels like the world keeps pushing you to lead in ways that don't feel right, you're not broken. You're just built different. And that difference? That's where your power is. You don't need a podium to be a leader. You don't need permission to speak the truth. You don't need to manage people to make an impact. You just need to own your way of moving through the world, because the ones who truly shape the world aren't always the ones in charge. They're the ones who refuse to be shaped by it. So if you feel like you're watching the world from a distance, leading without asking, and walking your own road when everyone else is following maps, you're not lost. You're a Sigma, and the world needs you exactly like that. Thank you for watching. God bless you.